Hello friends, today we'll be continuing with the chapter Delhi Sultanate, and this lecture is second in the series of 4 lectures on the topic. Today we'll be talking about the Khalji Dynasty. So, beginning with the Khalji Dynasty, in this we'll be covering today Alauddin Khalji, expansion of the empire, military and administrative reforms, market control policy of Alauddin Khalji, architecture and literature in his period, and then in the next lecture we will be continuing with the Tughlaq dynasty. So, beginning with the Khalji dynasty, the Khalji ruled for 3 decades. They were very ambitious and wanted to expand the empire. They were able rulers, good administrators, and worked all round development of the empire. They consolidated a huge empire and introduced market control policies. Jalauddin Khalji from 1290 to 1296 CE. He was the founder of the Khalji dynasty. After overthrowing the last ruler of the slave dynasty, he was a tolerant and capable ruler and was able to deal with the Mongol threat to a certain extent. His nephew Alauddin Khalji led a successful expedition against Devagiri and used the attained wealth to overthrow and kill him. Alauddin Khalji from 1296 to 1316 CE. Alauddin Khalji was the most powerful ruler of the Khalji dynasty and the Delhi Sultanate. Alauddin was a brilliant general and a very clever administrator. He was the first Turkish Sultan to build an imperial empire in India. His policies were very effective for the development of his empire. Expansion of the empire. Alauddin's planning and execution abilities resulted in strategic and economic gains. The conquest of Gujarat and Malwa in the west gave him control over the western seaports. He also led successful expeditions against Ranthambore, Chittor, and Jalore in Rajasthan. Alauddin next organized an arduous campaign against the Deccan. His general Malik Kafur led a series of successful raids into the Deccan and defeated the kings of Warangal, Dawara, Samudra, and Mysore. He returned from Deccan with 612 elephants, 20,000 horses, and a large amount of gold and chest of jewels. The defeated kings continued to rule after accepting the Sultan's suzerainty and promised to pay tribute to him. Alauddin became the first sultan to establish a large empire which extended to the south of river Narmada. Military and administrative reforms. Alauddin Khalji was a very good military strategist. He also introduced some well-planned military reforms. His main aim behind these reforms was to keep a well-motivated, disciplined, and trained army which could face strong opponents like the Mongols. Alauddin maintained a well-paid army consisting of 475,000 horsemen. He introduced a system of branding horses called Dag and a system of maintaining profiles of soldiers called Chehra. Alauddin was successfully able to deal with the Mongols by strengthening his army, building new forts, and making the old ones better. He strategically placed his army for an effective counterattack against the Mongols. Market control policy of the Alauddin Khalji. Alauddin maintained a large army and needed a substantial amount for its maintenance. To meet the expenses of maintaining this army, he had to find new ways to add to his revenue. Alauddin Khalji gave orders to measure all the land which was under cultivation. He brought the assessment and collection of land revenue under the control of state. The local chieftains had to pay taxes instead of receiving them. There were 3 types of taxes: land revenue, which was 50% of the produced, also known as kharaj, tax on cattle, and tax on houses. Alauddin Khalji also introduced an efficient market control policy. He fixed the prices of food and grains. He also made different kinds of arrangements for the supply of commodities. The farmers growing corn within 100 miles of Delhi were allowed to keep only 10 mounds of corn with them. The remaining was sold to the government according to the rates in the tariff list. A large number of storehouses and granaries were built in the capital to store large quantity of corn to make this possible. In times of crisis and shortages, this corn was sold to citizens of Delhi at a fixed rate. And at the same time, nobody was allowed to buy more than half a pound of corn at a time. These measures were beneficial for all. First, The grain merchants couldn't hoard grains to create scarcity to increase prices. Second, even during the time of droughts, grain was in abundance and no shortage was felt. It was like a strict system that guaranteed enough food for all without any corruption. Alauddin Khalji set up a department under the charge of an official called Shana-e Mandi. It was his duty to prepare the list of prices of various commodities, to register merchants, and to keep an eye on their activities. Shahnai Mandi also looked after royal granary, controlled the markets, and kept a constant check on the weights and measures. Architecture and architecture. Alauddin was a great patron art of architecture and literature. Many beautiful buildings were built during his reign. Siri Fort and Alai Darwaza in New Delhi were constructed by him. He also began the construction of a huge minar like Qutub Minar but couldn't finish it. He had many great poets and scholars in his court, such as Amir Khusro. War of succession soon broke out after Alauddin's death. Khusrau Khan was the last Khalji ruler. Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq defeated him and founded the Tughlaq dynasty. So, friends, as we talked about, we will be taking the discussion forward with Tughlaq dynasty in the next class. So, in today's class, we would summarize what we have just discussed. We had talked about the founder of Khalji dynasty, Jalaluddin Khalji, the most popular and effective ruler, Alauddin Khalji, his expansion of his empire, the military and administrative reforms brought by him, market control policy of him, architecture and literature under his reign, and how rulers followed Alauddin Khalji and Ghiyazuddin Tughlaq defeated them and founded Tughlaq dynasty. So we'll be leaving you with a link to the next previous lecture, and next lecture will follow soon. Thank you, friends.